Agree or disagree? Doctors and dentists are perfectly rational people who always make rational, emotionless decisions. It's best that you disagree. They're humans just like the rest of us, which means emotions get into their decision making just like it does for the rest of us. My guest today helps his doctor and dentist clients plan their financial futures, including managing their emotions along the journey, and he's going to help us understand how you can manage yours as well. I'm Carl White, principal at Mark Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. It's usually what they want anyway, and care is better when the provider of care is the one who owns the practice, because that way all decisions, clinical, business, otherwise, whatever they may be, are made by those who are providing care, which means that those care providing decisions are always going to be top of mind, next to top of mind, appropriately top of mind, so that they do not get lost. And that's the way it ought to be. My guest today is Drew Powers. Drew is the founder of Powers Financial Group, a registered investment advisor. He specializes in advanced insurance and investment strategies for doctors. Drew is 100% independent, which means he doesn't work with any investment or insurance company, and that means he's able to give unbiased advice that is most beneficial to his clients, and it's not always that way. Drew started his career in 2001 as a market maker on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, where he managed trading portfolios comprising of hundreds of equity and equity index option listings. In 2008, he transitioned to the role of financial advisor and investment advisor representative, where he helped clients develop individual financial strategies. At Powers Financial Group, Drew leverages his stock and options trading expertise with his financial advising experience to help clients increase and protect their wealth. Drew lives in Naperville, Illinois, with his wife and their two kids. He's an avid downhill skier, active in youth sports, a proud Rooster within the Naperville Jaycees. I'm pretty sure that's a good thing. And is passionate about CrossFit and the Paleo Primal Lifestyle. Drew is a returning guest. Thank you for coming on Practice Care and to tackle what I'm sure is just a 5-minute topic here.
Oh, thanks for having me. And this is the reason why I got into financial advising, so you'll probably have to cut me off
Okay,
multiple
fair
times
enough.
here.
And the umbrella term is behavioral finance and how it applies to doctors and dentists and frankly, anybody.
hmm
It's a topic that's not terribly new. It's painfully obvious, although it's been painfully obvious forever. It just got a name, behavioral finance, I don't know, 30 or 40 years ago, or kind of
Yep.
relatively recently in the sort of schema of human history. So we're going to get into it. But first, tell us a bit more about you for listeners who haven't listened to a prior episode. This is the reason you got into this was behavioral finance. So kind of, hook that in your answer.
Yeah, sure, sure. I'll give you the long story very short. While I was in college, I dealt cards at a casino in Michigan. I dealt blackjack and poker and a dice game.
Hmm.
And I was an econ major. I was a math minor. I was kind of a math geek, and I loved, you know, digging into the probabilities. And I would tell people at the table, like, you've got a 37% chance if you hit, and you've only got a 3% chance if you stand. So I think you should hit.
They would
You
let you
know,
do that?
oh yeah, the casino doesn't care. They
Okay.
have an edge, and they just want to make that little edge. They want to
Yeah,
just have thousands upon millions of hands dealt.
true, true.
That's how they make their money.
Hmm.
Um, So I love to tell people that. And first of all, it was shocking to me that people would willingly put their money down in a game that they were statistically
Just
guaranteed to
to
lose.
lose. Yes.
And it would even shock me even more when I would say, you know, based on your hands, just broad based off the cuff calculation, right? You have 10 times the chances of winning if you hit versus if you stand, but they would be scared to hit because they would bust. And if they bust, then they're out. And they say,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to stand. And then if they won that hand, that 3% chance
Yeah.
kicked in, they'd say, see, sometimes you got to go with your gut. And I'm like, no, you
You
don't go
actually
with
never
your
do that.
gut.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right, right.
It's precisely the opposite of what you just said.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And your gut gets a little bit worse the longer you sit at the table and they ply you with free drinks. We used to call it Johnny Walker judgment.
Oh, yeah.
It just gets worse and worse for the player.
Yeah.
So I mean that got me into trading,
Hmm.
and eventually is the reason why I got into financial advising. And I'll give you the punchline here right in the beginning. The whole point of this is that humans, whether you are, you know, smart and intelligent and you've gone through a lot of education like all of our clients have,
Hmm.
you're still fallible. You are still subject to all these same human emotions and biases, and there's no escaping it.
Hmm.
And so what I try to do is let's not fall prey to those and let's let the market do what the market does.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is why I'm so much more focused on where can we save money in a tax preferred place or creditor protected place, and then let's not get too many bright ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Because exactly. It's funny, we were on vacation last week and sitting in like the hotel kind of right outside the lobby waiting for a taxi. And there's this other guy there and taxis were slow. You start chatting. And this guy was a dealer a while ago, like years ago.
Hmm.
And he said he stopped. And I said, why? He said, it was too difficult for me to watch people just, I know they're going to
Oh
lose.
yeah. Yeah.
And you know that they shouldn't. Some of them really shouldn't. And I
Hmm.
couldn't, you could say stuff. I couldn't say stuff. He's like, I couldn't tell them. And it became too hard to watch. And I knew exactly what was going to happen and they didn't. And yeah, it was just really, yeah, I was like, wow, that's, I never thought of it. I just never
Yeah.
thought of it.
Yeah. That, if I can take more time with this, so that was really the last day I worked at the casino as somebody was in there who shouldn't have been gambling. And
Hmm.
I said, man, this is the last place you need to be. I'm gonna buy you a cup of coffee and you need to get out of here. And I
Hmm.
got dragged upstairs. They said, you don't ever tell anybody to leave the table.
Hmm.
And I thought, you know, this is a small town. These are our neighbors.
Yeah.
They're not a way to make money.
I
So
mean, so you
yeah,
bump into that guy next week and like, I wish I could have told you. And that just goes to
right.
bad places. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. So the topic is behavioral finance, how it applies. We say to doctors and dentists, that's the focus of practice care, but it's really
Mhm.
anybody. And as you were, you were sort of preparing me for this, and as I was looking at this concept of a vicious circle comes up. So let's just start by kind of defining it. What is the vicious circle of behavioral finance?
Sure. Sure. So first of all, I'm going to say behavioral finance and behavioral economics somewhat interchangeably
Fine.
because they kind of go hand in hand, even though they
Yeah.
might be something different. And
One of them is more mathematical than the other, but other
sure,
than that, the
sure.
concept's probably the
Yeah,
same.
right. So
Yeah.
there's study after study after study that show us that humans make predictable actions, and we could in parentheses say mistakes,
Yeah.
in predictable ways. And there was a study on this. People with larger accounts who self-manage tend to make more errors and tend to make bigger errors.
Hmm.
And a study, they really just went in, they said on a day where you sold one stock and bought another, let's just track that.
Mhm.
And you know, when the stock that they sold on average outperformed the stock that they bought,
Hmm.
okay, by 3.4% going forward.
Hmm.
So here we are thinking that we're making this rational, informed decision and we're selling a stock in order to buy another stock,
Mhm.
and we lose 3.4% of potential gains on
Mhm.
average
Mhm.
year over year. So the idea in behavioral finance is that people's ideas cost a lot of money,
Mhm.
about 3% on average. And
Plus the fees to do the
sure,
transaction, whatever that.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Right.
right. And we could talk about that too. Now that the fees are gone and you don't see them, you say, well, why do these companies want me to trade? It's because they're still making money when you
Of
trade,
course
even if
they
you're not
are.
paying them,
Yeah.
a ticket fee. So the vicious circle of behavioral finance,
Mhm.
and this is what I call it. I don't know if that's really what it's called, but first is confidence and expertise. We as humans tend to have too much confidence in our own ideas and expertise.
Mhm.
And confidence in this definition is not necessarily a measured result. Confidence is a feeling.
Mhm.
And feelings can be manipulated both by ourselves through our own biases and um, denial or whatever, and also outside forces.
Mhm.
And I always talk about like technical indicators, heat maps, right? These things on your brokerage account that make you think you have this extra information, and it's all just made to make you trade.
Hmm.
And expertise in this sense is also, it's developed in a regular environment with a vast amount of practice that provides immediate feedback. And
Okay.
so, when we have someone who is not a professional trader, but they have been trading a lot,
Hmm.
they think that they are gaining expertise, but they're not. They're not getting immediate feedback. I'll
Hmm.
maybe use a lot of sports analogies, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
When you go to the driving green or driving, what do you call it?
Driving
Driving
range.
driving range, putting green, driving range. It's a relatively regular environment. Now
Hmm.
it could be sunny, it could be hot, it could be cold, it could be rainy, but whatever. The
Yeah.
tee, the ball, right? It's all a regular environment. You get a vast amount of practice. And did the ball go straight? Did it hook? Did it slice? What did it do? And you
Hmm.
get immediate feedback.
Hmm.
When you're trading, you don't get that kind of feedback. And when you do get that kind of feedback, most people ignore it anyway, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we have this heightened sense of confidence and expertise that we don't really have.
So is the feedback that it comes down the road as you watch the performance of the stock you just bought,
Right,
but it
right.
takes time because, yeah.
It takes time. It takes
Hmm.
time. And we have all these mechanisms built in for ourselves to protect ourselves
Yeah.
from feeling the pain.
Yeah.
Um, the second then step is you have this false sense of confidence and expertise. Humans tend to make decisions based on short-term gains and losses. And this kind of circles into like paleo primal lifestyle, this
Yeah.
evolutionary biology, right? 10,000 years ago, you had to get food, you had to get water, you had to not get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, right?
Right. Right.
All of your decisions were short term.
Hmm.
We don't really live in that world anymore.
Hmm.
So our motivations are too often short-term gains versus losses.
Hmm.
Well, the basic tenets of classical economics or classical finance, right? Remember Adam Smith's invisible hand?
Hmm.
What were all the assumptions? We have perfectly informed actors
Hmm.
who are completely rational,
Hmm.
always acting in their own self-interest. And we
Hmm.
know that that's not true.
Hmm.
And the motivation in classical economics, the main goal was wealth in the long run.
Yeah.
And so like this is the basis of economics. And you remember Keynes said, well, in the long run, we're all dead.
Yeah.
This
One of
isn't
the
really how
reasons I
humans act.
dropped economics as a major in college is because one of the many things I couldn't get even a remotely same answer on is, what does the short term turn in the long run? Can somebody just,
Right,
they couldn't get an answer.
right,
And I
right,
was like, well, they don't know. I just, I'm not looking for, well, it's a
right.
year or whatever,
Yeah,
something that like, can six of you tenured people agree remotely? Anyway, so yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
So when
like
I
there's
was,
trading, then there's day trading, then there's, if you're
yes,
truly a trader and you're in it for like a day or a month or something really short term, whether or not what Drew's talking about flips upside down, I doubt it, but many of us, most of us are investors. Like for the long term, we're trying to build the nest egg,
right.
which by definition has a long time horizon because you don't need it until much later, depending on how old
Hmm.
you are today. So all this applies.
Right,
Everything that,
right.
why you would
So
trade if you're building a nest egg, maybe separate episode, but
yeah.
yeah.
And even sometimes what we call investing, really what you're doing is you're trading. You're selling one stock, you're buying another,
Hmm.
or it really is trading, and everything on your phone and on those platforms are designed just like
Yeah.
the slot machine in Vegas, right? It's to keep you
Yeah.
active
Yeah.
and keep you going. So when I was on the trading floor, we all read a bunch of books. There's a great book, Reminiscences of a
Yeah.
Stock Operator, right? And this is Jesse Livermore, probably trading stocks in the 20s. Like I
Hmm.
don't know. This is very old, but it was kind of like the trading Bible.
Hmm.
And he had these, 7 steps to be a successful trader. And one of the first ones was cut your losses quick,
Hmm.
let your winners run.
Hmm.
individual investors, time and time again, every study shows we're more likely to hold on to our
You
losing
get that
stocks
backwards. Yeah.
and sell the winners. And why? Because when we sell, it's a win. We feel good. Our confidence goes up. We are good at this. But when we sell and we sell for a loss, well, that's a loss. And we
Yeah.
don't,
That's a
so we,
failure. Yeah.
right. So we have failed. And there's another great book that I wanted to bring up called The Way of the Turtle. And I hope
Okay.
that everybody listening just picks up these two books and then realizes it's not to make you a better trader, it's to keep you from trading. The Way of the Turtle. All right.
Mhm.
This is a group, a trading group that decided we're not going to hire the Ivy League MBAs. We're going to hire art majors and high school dropouts, and we're going to hire all these people who would never have a chance on Wall Street. We're going to teach them our trading system. And what they found is the people who had the discipline to stick with the trading system made money. Didn't matter their background.
Hmm.
And the people who couldn't stick with it lost money. This
Hmm.
reminds me of Trading Places. You
Yeah.
remember it, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Right?
Yeah.
The Duke brothers, right? Don
Yeah.
Amici and Ralph Bellamy hire Eddie Murphy, who's a
Yeah.
common street hustler, right? I mean, this is um it's just like that. Which
Hmm.
also, by the way, was Jamie Lee Curtis's first non-slasher movie.
Okay. Well,
Now, you say, why is
lots of
that
nuggets
important
in
to the
this episode.
discussion?
Okay.
You say,
Yeah.
why is that important to this discussion? It's important because who saw that coming? She had made 5 slasher movies. What made you think she was going to get into mainstream Hollywood? Right?
I,
Uh,
uh,
so what makes you think you know what this stock is going to do? Anyway,
correct.
it's
Yeah.
I'm digging deep here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so so investors tend to hold on to their losers,
Hmm.
sell their winners too quick.
Hmm.
And why do they do this? This is another thing. We all have loss aversion.
Hmm.
And this is a common thing that we hear about. And they even add to it myopic loss aversion, short-sightedness.
Hmm.
And study after study finds that the pain of $1,000 loss about is about offset by the joy of a $2,000 win,
Interesting.
which shouldn't be the case,
Yeah.
right?
No.
If you know, going back to the casino example, if I told you, Carl, you've got a 50-50 shot. Sometimes you're going to lose $1,000, the other times you're going to win 1,100.
Hmm.
What you should do is you should say, I'm going to play this as much as I can
Right.
because over time I'm going to
I'm going to be
win
up.
$100,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
that's not what we do.
Okay.
Study after study says that has to be a $1,000 to $2,000
Yeah.
before humans say, okay, I'll do it.
So takeaways for me, just to sort of keep
Hmm.
track. One is don't trade. I mean, just,
Well,
and
yeah,
I think of it
right,
as there's a trillion relevant pieces of information about stock X, company X.
right,
I'm
right.
never going to know. Who
Yeah,
the hell do I think I am? Seriously? I mean, if it goes up, it's, I don't know, there's a bit of luck involved, and luck is not an investment strategy. It's something else.
sure.
And the other one is compare the wins and losses on their dollar value, not on emotional impact. Put it that way, I guess.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I
Oh,
I would say that's true, but there's also a fallacy there that we fall into, which we'll get into. So
okay.
the third part of what I call the vicious circle here, vicious
Hmm.
cycle, is
Hmm.
hindsight is 2020, or is it?
Only the
So
amount of information you can see, right? So if
right,
there's a trillion pieces of relevant information I never saw, my hindsight vision will not pick it up either, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
So what tends to happen is something unexpected happens. We as humans were surprised for a moment. And then we start to digest everything that we saw and that we know and that we find out in hindsight, and slowly events start
Hmm.
to make more and more sense in our own minds.
Hmm.
And so I would say, like, I knew insert stock here was going to skyrocket. I knew it.
Right.
I saw all the pieces lined up, and I would say, no, you didn't.
Right.
2008 was obvious if you just paid attention. Well, we've seen the movie. There were 4 people who paid enough
Right.
attention to
Yeah.
make money off of this.
Yeah.
So I like to say hindsight is pernicious. It
Hmm.
makes us think we know something that we don't know.
Hmm.
And what does that give us? That gives us a false sense of confidence and this false sense of expertise, which takes us right back up to the top.
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now called, what's it called? The Secret Club That Ruled the World. It's a little bit old
Okay.
now, but it's about commodities traders and how boring they are, but how influential they are. And each
Yeah.
chapter is about a different one. And dear listener, I mean, if you want a reminder of there's stuff the experts know that you never will, read something like this because
Right.
holy crap, just the experience and the expertise and what to look for. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm yeah, it's
Right. Well,
yeah.
and I was one of those guys. I was on the trading floor.
Hmm.
We didn't know. The only sure way to really make money is to have some kind of insider information and act on it. And that's one, you're not going to get that information as a doctor or dentist. And two, it's illegal.
It's
So,
illegal. Yeah.
you know, I don't think it's really worth the risk.
Yeah.
You know,
Once I got a tip. It was a legit insider tip. Legit.
yeah,
And I was sat staring at I was terrified. I'm like, I can't do this. There's no
right.
way.
Good.
I
That's
can't
the
do
right
this.
answer while you're being
Because
recorded.
there's only
Yes.
one way this person telling me this knows this. Right.
Right.
No.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to reveal, but I did not. I'm like, but that's
Yeah.
insider. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Right. Right. And
Carl, I'm
it's more
just
trouble than it's
saying.
worth.
I'm like, you're just saying too much, my friend. And
Yeah.
all right, so that's the vicious circle.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I feel like we started to hit on like what causes it. Is it just sort of irrational human thinking, or is there more to it than that?
So all humans are subject to ways of thinking, to biases. Um, and what I find is I work with as you know, I work with a lot of doctors and dentists. I work with a lot of attorneys. I work with a lot of people who are very smart. They were used to being the smartest
Hmm.
kids in
Hmm.
high school. They were used to being the smartest, in college and got into these,
Hmm.
difficult training programs but yet we're still subject to these same fallacies and biases. So I think the ones that I would put as kind of the main thing that everything else shoots off of is one, we all suffer from what we call anchoring bias.
Okay.
And we tend to put too much weight on the information we hear first. So if you hear this is great or you hear this is bad, which one did you hear first? That now becomes what you are anchored to,
Which is so funny because the thing you hear first might be totally irrelevant.
right?
A
Yeah.
a fly on the elephant's back of relevance, whatever.
Yes, right.
It could
Yeah,
be harmful, nothing, and you have no idea.
right,
Yeah.
right. Then a very popular term now, confirmation bias, right?
Mhm.
The echo chamber, right? This is how social media is built. Uh, we suffer from confirmation bias. We tend to seek out information that confirms an existing belief,
Mhm.
and we will ignore or filter out information that does not match our existing belief.
Mhm.
And so if we've heard something and we're anchored to it, then what we will hear and what we will retain more often are things that agree with our existing outlook.
Mhm.
And now we're gaining confidence in
Mhm.
our idea, right? Because, oh, everybody's saying it, right? But what did we filter out?
Right. Everybody's saying lots
Um,
of other relevant things too that you are
right,
ignoring. Yeah.
right, right. We tend to suffer from recency bias. Humans tend to think that whatever has happened most recently is how things will continue indefinitely,
Mhm.
right? We saw this in the dot-com bubble, right?
Mhm.
Remember the book Dow, was it the book Dow 30,000 or
Something.
40,000 or
Yeah.
something? This is just going to happen and this is going to continue
It's a mega
indefinitely.
trend.
And
I hate that
right, right.
word.
And what
Yeah.
happens? It took us until 2023 to hit the number of a book that was published in 1997,
Yeah.
right? Um, so we have this recency bias. If things are going good, they're always going to go good.
Mhm.
Let me extrapolate the last 3 months to the next 30 years, and I'm going to retire early, in my villa
Yeah.
in the south of France, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we suffer from this. And then the last one that I would call it herding bias, which maybe we've all heard of as like herd mentality, crowd mentality. And I think this is where FOMO comes
Hmm.
in. Everybody knows about fear of missing out.
Right.
We tend to do what others are doing.
Hmm.
And when we're not doing what others are doing, we're worried that they're right and we're wrong.
Hmm.
And a lot of this is evolutionary, right? When we were tribal, you had to go with the crowd. You didn't want to be the person ousted from the tribe
Yeah.
and
Because that
left alone on
saber-toothed
this.
tiger's starting with
Right.
you.
It's right there. It's right
Yeah,
there.
your
Yeah,
appetizer, my friend. Easy pickings.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think those are some of the biases. And then just some things that our brains do automatically is we're constantly trying to make sense of the world around us.
Hmm.
And humans tend to create patterns, even
Yeah.
where no pattern exists.
Hmm.
And so I hear this all the time. Have you ever noticed when this stock goes up to 120, it almost immediately drops to 95? And shouldn't we just sell it at 120 and buy it at 95? Because this is just going to happen indefinitely.
Hmm.
And you might be looking at like a 2 year
Hmm.
graph of this stock, not realizing, well, you're talking about a company that's been around for 120 years, right?
Right.
Like what,
Right.
like this is a moment in time.
Right.
Or I kind of chuckled to myself the other day. I was pulling up to an address and it was 4556.
Hmm.
And in my head, I said double run for 8, 15 for 10, 15 for 12. Right. So if you play
Yes.
cribbage,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Why
Yes.
did I do that? Oh, some
It's
people
one
say,
of the
oh,
better
that's
hands in
just,
cribbage. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. So, and some people say, oh, it's just, it's the same as when somebody sings, 588, right? We're in Chicago, right? We
22.
end that with two,
Yeah.
300, right?
Yeah.
It was my brain making sense of an address in a way that, I've played cribbage a million times and I'd
Hmm.
love to get a double run with 4, 5, and 6, right?
And
Um,
then you turn over another five. I mean, that's like happy
oh
birthday, right?
man,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And then we all suffer from a deep-seated denial, a self-preservation tactic, um, that that we will deny things left and right. All humans do this.
Hmm.
And in the trading world, I'll even go back to
You
another
mean like
movie.
deny fact, deny reality, deny doesn't really
Sure.
matter?
There's this, here's the evidence sitting right in front of you and you don't see it.
Hmm.
And we do this because if we did see it and we had to admit that it was a negative, now we're suffering from a loss. And we know that the pain of a loss is twice as great as the joy of a gain, right?
And we're
So,
acknowledging we're wrong about something, which is
right,
no easy
right.
task for some people.
And we're already anchored. We've
Yep.
already got our confirmation bias working, right? So there's this built-in denial mechanism in humans.
And if you're a
And
doctor, dentist, care provider, attorney, accountant, you're paid to be right.
right.
You are.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just a big believer that whatever the prevailing environment you live in every day, which for many of us is the work environment, it just has to spill over to the rest of your life, doesn't it? And which one
Yeah.
came first? The I'm always right, I picked that profession, or the other way around, or some mixture of two. No matter what, um, you're paid to be right and you're
Yeah.
expected to be right, and with very little room for error. So
Right.
some people
Very
start
little
drinking the
room for
Kool-Aid,
error. Yeah.
that old Kool-Aid. So
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
countervailing evidence, you've got to have a way to say, I was wrong about that. I missed that.
So
Yeah.
this denial, where does this come up in investing or trading?
Hmm.
I'll throw out another movie reference, right? If you remember Rounders, the Texas Hold'em
Never
movie with
watched it,
Matt
but I know.
Damon?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a line in there where Matt Damon is the narrator and he talks about every great poker player can tell you with excruciating detail their worst beats. I've got pocket aces, I should have a made hand and I lose,
Hmm.
right? Um, Floor traders, we would swap stories all day. We could tell you with excruciating detail our worst trades, our biggest money losers.
Hmm.
But you go to say, you look at somebody and say, well, how did you make all of your money? And they could only tell you like, like my boss is, I made a killing in Chrysler. They couldn't give you more detail than that, but they
Probably
could
because they
tell
bought
you,
Chrysler at a pretty decent time and held it for a long ass
well,
time,
right,
and
right,
just
right,
for
right.
got to know it better than average and wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Which is a
individual
boring story.
investors, it
Yeah.
is a truly boring story, right?
Yeah.
Individual investors never remember their losers.
Interesting.
I have a lot of clients who want to have an account on their own that they trade, and then every once in a while they'll say, "Hey, could you look this over and give me some tips?" And I do this.
Yeah.
They never remember their losers.
Interesting.
It is like it's bordering right on some kind of level of psychosis, I think,
Hmm.
but they just can't do it. And they also individual traders, individual investors never identify a profit as a bad trade. In other words, as long as it made money, it was good.
Yeah. I know where
So
you keep
I'll
going.
give you an
Yeah.
example of this, right? I was
Yeah.
reviewing somebody and they had been buying and selling a stock, AMD, um, a number of times, and they bought it at like $50. Immediately it skyrockets to 125. And almost as quickly it comes back down and they sold it out at like 53 bucks. And they're like, well, yeah, I've been making money in AMD. And when I look at that last trade, I'm like, no, no, no. AMD was 50 and it went up to 125. That was an incredibly good trade. And then you rode it all the way back down and
Yeah.
sold it
Yeah.
hours before you would have lost money.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good, it's akin, if I can use another sports analogy, right? The shortest guy on the basketball court is triple teamed and chucks a hook shot
Yeah.
and it bounces off the glass and goes in. Was that a good shot?
Right.
You scored 3 points, but we all know that that's not a good shot.
You got luck.
Um,
Yeah. Lucky.
right, right.
Yeah.
So there's this self-preservation
Yeah.
that we have that doesn't really allow us to look, with any kind of separation and say that was a bad trade, that was a good trade. And if we could do that, we'd probably trade less often.
Yeah. And so it's so the causes of it, to kind of add to our list, it's all the biases, all the ways, I guess,
Yeah,
I guess it takes a lot of self-awareness, all the ways in which we fool ourselves just almost instantaneously.
right.
Whether we think we know more than we do, or we justify things that, in a way that's different from what actually happened. The core of this is, emotion, right? So money is
Hmm.
emotional.
Right.
I guess, why is that so critical? So listener, if you want to break this cycle, if, again, if you're a human with a pulse, you're somewhere in this, we all are. It's just hard
Right.
not to be. There's no, there's no gruesome admission here that you're different from anybody else. You're just like everybody else. We're all like, so money is emotional. How do you break this? Like, do you just say,
Well,
stop, count to three before you do something? Like, is there
right. So we could get into the biology of what's happening, the neurochemistry, and I
yeah,
don't want to dig. These
me
are
either.
like we're talking about doctors here, right? We understand, like they know this better than I do. But the what I would say to lay
Like the
people,
practical, yeah. Like, what do you just,
right?
yeah.
I sometimes have this little shtick where I'll hold up binoculars and I'll say, "Hey, is that a grizzly bear down the way or a bear market?" And the
Okay.
funny thing is that our brains respond to these two things in the exact same way, right? The amygdala fires up. We get into that fight or flight response
Mm-hmm.
when we're faced with a charging grizzly or we're faced with a crashing market. Physiologically, we react the same way. And then I don't need to explain this to anybody, right? The amygdala sends a signal to the adrenal gland. We release cortisol. What does cortisol do? It's the stress hormone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's limiting oxygen and nutrients to the prefrontal cortex, which is in
Mm-hmm.
charge of rational thought, analysis, and choice. So you and I
Yeah.
both have teenage boys, and we see
Yeah.
what underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, right? The so we are in this flight or fight response mode and
Mm-hmm.
not thinking clearly. And this is when people say, like, I was so angry I couldn't see straight,
Yeah.
right? This is like amygdala hijack. And
Yeah.
it's not something that without a good bit of training, you can pull yourself out of
Hmm.
and then think, a little bit more logically. Our brain gives emotions more weight than logic.
Yeah. It's interesting you say this. I mean, I think back, so April of 2025, early in April, the reciprocal tariffs were announced and the market did what it
Right?
did. And I never call our financial advisor to say, great guy, but I called him and I said, what are you thinking? And what was the fear factor for me was, in all prior financial crises, the government was the backstop. Whether it was a good idea or not, the government was a
Sure.
backstop. But this time it just felt like, well, the backstop is saying, I don't want to be that backstop. I'm the one doing this. Whether you
Right.
thought it was not political. And so I called him, and through a raspy voice, because he was having a lot of these conversations, his message was, slow down.
Yeah.
We're much more defensive than we were 2 weeks ago, and kind of that's about it because nobody knows. And I was like, okay,
Yeah. Right.
slow down, nothing
Right.
rash,
Right.
calm markets. He didn't say this to me. He was like, calm markets, Carl. You don't know crap. None of us know anything in this kind of market. So the worst thing
Yeah.
you can do is start guessing by making trades and moves and changes. We've
Right.
made some changes that are broadly smart because they're much more defensive. God only knows at that point. I was like, he's
Yeah.
right. God and one guy. No. So, and
That
I'm not
right.
that guy. So I think I'm
Yeah.
just going to pause and just buckle up,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the exact right answer,
Yeah.
in that scenario. And this is the thing people have to understand is we think that we are logical beings, right? Um, we're not. We're
No.
emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Money is emotional. When
Mm-hmm.
you pull up your retirement account statement and you see the number, you don't think to yourself, oh, it's a number and I'm thinking about this number. You're thinking about, I've got kids to put through college. This is my lake house in retirement. This
Mm-hmm.
is that epic vacation I want to take the whole family on. It's a wedding, whatever.
Whatever.
We have emotional ties to our own money. And when we start acting more emotional, which the brain is going to give more weight to emotion than logic,
Mm-hmm.
we've got all of these biases and we've got these predictable actions that every human takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just kind of, people who manage their own money tend to make bigger errors. About 3%, they lose about 3% on average.
And that's, by the way, dear listener, that's a big number in the context of what we're talking about.
Oh,
It's a,
it's
it's
huge.
a, it's a future changing number.
Right.
It just is, like, because when you trade, there's other things. So you trade means you buy something and sell something else. Or even if you buy and sell the same thing, or sell and then buy the same thing back,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be right twice
Right.
on the sale decision and then the buy
Mm-hmm.
decision. And most of us are not even right once. Right, air
Right.
quotes, good,
Yeah.
effective. You know, good luck. I mean,
Yes.
Godspeed.
Right.
Honestly, if you
Exactly.
really want to, but just be eyes wide open about what you are doing.
Right.
It's
I
hard to be
I
right twice.
encourage, yeah, I encourage my, our clients, Carl, right? They make good money.
Mm-hmm.
And if they've been savers, they probably have a good bit of wealth built up. I say, yes, take a small amount, whatever small is, relative to
Yeah.
the rest of your portfolio, and go ahead and open up that brokerage account and buy and sell to your heart's content
Mm-hmm.
and keep it at that little bit.
But don't jeopardize the real story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or if you do, don't, we can have the I told you so today or 3 years from now,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
coming and it's ugly and everybody loses. So
Yeah, I try to stay away from "I told you so." What I try to say is, "How do you feel this is going?" That's that's the
yeah,
conversation I have with clients
yeah. But
most
in whatever
often.
form it takes, it's just like, look, this is coming. This
Right,
form of conversation's coming.
right.
How many of them don't tell their spouses? Like
Oh, all of them.
all of
I,
them. Yeah.
but this is why I say take this small amount. This is your play money. This is the
Mhm.
money that you would put in your wallet and go to Vegas with, right? This is the money that you can lose.
Mhm.
Let's then take the bulk of the nest egg and let's have it in something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. We really have.
Yeah.
Anything we should have hit that we didn't get to?
I'm, our clients are very entrepreneurial. They
Hmm.
are do-it-yourselfers.
Hmm.
I would say that I am here to help.
Hmm.
And I, just like you wouldn't want me fixing your teeth or doing your appendectomy,
Hmm.
maybe you aren't the right person to be managing all of your money.
Hmm.
And so what I like to tell is like advisors, and especially my time on the trading floor, I have real expertise, but it's not the kind of expertise that you think. I have
Okay.
expertise in trading, and this gives me real confidence, but it's the confidence to know that we can't know, right? So more often than not, it's the confidence not to act,
Yes.
not to do something because the market is crashing,
Because you know
not,
enough about what's going on to
yes,
say acting's a bad move than this one.
right,
Yes.
right. And
Yes.
then just in that context of trading, and also just by the nature of the relationship, I do not have an emotional attachment to your money.
Hmm.
And so it allows me to be a step removed from that emotional decision making
Yeah.
and to help guide, you, the investor,
Yeah.
to make better decisions.
Yeah. I guess it takes an acknowledgement for listeners, for all of us to say that thing over there, making that money grow, I should just say that's more complicated than I have an understanding of. Not that I couldn't, but Dr. X, Carl, if I compare my resume to Drew's, I lose in terms of if you believe, time and discipline and experience and real life experience make something effective, not just better, but
Mm-hmm.
effective, then you have to therefore conclude, I shouldn't really do this myself. You just
I,
should.
yeah,
There's more reasons, Dr. X, that you're a doctor, more than you have a license and I do not. Right? You have an
exactly.
affinity, you have a draw, you have um, an instinct, all sorts of things that I will never have, that make you a good doctor, or dentist, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that means, I shouldn't self-diagnose. I shouldn't do the things you do. And I
Right,
shouldn't say,
right.
oh, I could do
Yep.
that. I could do that. I guess it's the same thing. It's more than a license that's out, but you have a license, true. You have to. But yeah, I don't know. The top talent in the world of whatever it is, sports or otherwise, have coaches. Why?
Exactly.
Because they
Yeah.
want to be at the highest performance of whatever all the time. This is a version of that. Why, why not? So, um, so the other wrap-up question I ask is, so where can somebody get started on something new? This is a bit different. I guess, where can somebody get started on maybe looking at themselves in the mirror and go, oof, yeah, I do that too. And to try to
Yeah.
stop it or get better at it.
Right. So, like I said, a lot of my clients are entrepreneurial. They are
Hmm.
do-it-yourselfers, and
Hmm.
I do a lot of what I might call an annual review, annual trading review.
Hmm.
And it's just to go through each and every trade and let's analyze this with all the factors put in.
Hmm.
And then how do you feel this is going?
Hmm.
Right. And so if anybody would like to do that analysis, I think maybe a thing that I would do, I used to just do this for free. And
Hmm.
then somebody literally sent me like a ream of like 500 pages of trades. And I was like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
this is weeks of my time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I'll I'm offering to do this at a like, you know, free for the first hour and half price thereafter kind of
Okay.
thing for your
Okay.
listeners if they want to
Yeah.
do this, but I can't offer it for free anymore because
No. Yeah.
I got bit. So,
So
but I'd be
listeners,
happy.
yeah, Drew's contact info will be in
Yeah,
the show notes. Just mention Practice Care,
yeah,
the name of the podcast, and you
right.
heard Drew on Practice Care, and then he'll know where to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Happy to do that review and see if there's places where we can make some improvements or maybe it's time to siphon off a little bit and keep trading and doing what you're doing
Hmm.
and take the bulk of it and move it into something a little bit more disciplined.
There you go. There you go. Perfect. Drew, thank you. Thank you for coming back. I love these
Uh,
topics. There's a bit of finance, there's a bit of self-awareness. It's not a private practice topic per se, but it's certainly relevant to the audience anyway. So thank you for coming on Practice Care and telling us all about it.
yeah, thanks for having me. Always
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like I said Drew's contact info is in the show notes for this episode and all of his episodes. Easy way to get a hold of him. 2 quick points. First, please subscribe to Practice Care if you haven't done so already. New episode every week. We're easy to find, and it's the easiest way to stay up to date with new episodes. And secondly, if you're like Drew or us and you serve private practice owners, or if you're a private practice owner yourself, you've got some experience on the business side of private practice you think your peers would benefit from, don't overthink it. All experience is good experience. Just go to the show notes for Drew's episode, any episode. There's a link, couple of clicks, take you 2 seconds. Just tell us what's on your mind, and we'll get you scheduled as soon as possible. Thanks very much, and until next time.